Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Hey guys, this is Melissa Bachman. Are you ready to stop spooking deer before it's even time to hunt them? Then you need the new Flex S Dark cellular trail camera from SpyPoint. With a no-glow flash option, long-lasting solar power, and a ton of settings that can be changed anytime through the SpyPoint app, there are no more excuses for letting your deer get wise before the season even starts. So check it out for yourself and see why the SpyPoint Flex S Dark is the unstoppable and undetectable scouting tool you need for your next hunt.
Join us at a Friends of NRA event where freedom, fun, and firearms come together like nowhere else. With more than 600 events held across the country, there's always one happening near you. From exciting games to exclusive auctions featuring one-of-a-kind firearms and gear you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're a lifelong hunter, a competitive shooter, or simply passionate about defending freedom, there is a seat for you. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you and get ready for a night you won't forget. Join us at a Friends of NRA event where freedom, fun, and firearms come together like nowhere else. With more than 600 events held across the country, there's always one happening near you. From exciting games to exclusive auctions featuring one-of-a-kind firearms and gear you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're a lifelong hunter, a competitive shooter, or simply passionate about defending freedom, there is a seat for you. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you and get ready for a night you won't forget.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Huntworth. Huntworth gear for all types of weather, all types of terrain, all types of budgets. It's clothing that just works. Check them out at huntworthgear.com. And right now they have the preseason sale going on, 30% off of everything except for clearance. Ends September 1st at midnight. The code is PRE30, PRE30. And I literally just opened up a box that I got from Huntworth. And honestly, I'm so happy to get what was in that box. It shows me a couple of things from Huntworth. Like, the main thing is that they are listening. And I feel like that's really important. And you see that with Latitude as well. But Huntworth has now a regular merino knit cap coupled with their heat boost, and they've got that in the fingerless merino gloves. And what's really funny is in this podcast, we talk a little bit about gear, and one of the things that Bobby says is that fingerless merino gloves are like the most underrated piece of gear, or one of the most underrated pieces of gear, and that's what showed up. Really, really cool. And you guys are probably like, oh, it's just a hat, it's just some gloves. But no, I got the Saginaw series, their Silent X heat boost bibs and jacket, and a couple of things jump right out. One, that jacket is a little bit more of like an athletic fit, where some of their other stuff is really baggy. This stuff fits a little bit slimmer, still not as slim as some of the more Western style clothing, but it definitely has a different type of feel to it. And then on the jacket, it has a removable hood. So that's one of the things, talking with them, we've gone back and forth about like a puffy, like the hoodie, does that on a puffy, does it need a hood, does it not? People like it, people don't. But this Silent X Saginaw jacket is basically kind of like that Grayling hoodie, made into a jacket with a silent Berber type outer finish, so it's super quiet. And the bibs, they have the if you're sitting down, like the top of your thighs, that's where the pockets are, not on the side. So if you are sitting in a saddle or if you're sitting down in a tree stand, that stuff is accessible. And so that just goes to show you that they're listening to the feedback from hunters, from us guys that are using the products a lot. Really, really excited for this stuff. It's kind of funny. Like, definitely that the hat and gloves will be used, most of the season, but it's heat boost. So that is a super, super warm. That's their warmest stuff. It's with that graphene technology. It says 30% more warmth, so you can stay out there longer. And just putting them on and moving around a little bit. I mean, granted, it's the summertime, but it's just too hot. But it doesn't have the bulk. So really, really excited about that. Get over there, use that preseason code, get your hands on some of that stuff, and shop around a little bit. The website is new. You'll notice there's not my ugly mug on the opening pages now, but the ugly mug of none other than our own good friend on Rome and the Michigan Wild podcast, Nate Roosevelt. So go over there, check that out, show them some love. And then one of the other things, incidentally, we talked about, again, one of the things Bobby brought up is the Latitude pouches. So there's new operator pouches, super cool design. I'm really impressed with the buckles and how they're easily swapped from one thing to another. You can put them on your pack. You can hang them up on your gear strap. It's a pouch, but they're not terribly expensive. I think they start at like $35 compared to, any of the other normal, regular old run-of-the-mill dump pouches are $20-25, basically from any company. So really a great product for you guys to kind of check out and see. And then they did just launch that Ranger 33 pack. And, I feel like some of that stuff is for guys who are, the XL platforms, the bigger packs, like guys coming from tree stand hunting or guys coming from public or private land that want to carry a whole bunch more extra stuff. But it's basically the same pack as the 22, just supersized. So if you weren't sure if that 22 pack was going to be a good size for you, this 33 is like the exact same pack, just oversized. And, I got to see it in person a couple times at the ATA show and then at the factory, the warehouse or whatever. Well-built pack, so check that out if you're looking for a much larger pack. And get over there. You can save 15% using code BHC. And then Big Shot Targets, BCP, you can save 10% over there. Check out our friends at Canati, Genesis 3D, and Zingers, as always. This podcast is super fun with Bobby Kennedy. Bobby is a great dude, a good sport. I give him some ribbon and stuff like that. But, we talk a little bit about, camera stuff, filming, what it's like, going out on your own, and just a good conversation. Joke with Bobby about being Amish, so you guys will really enjoy that. But fun podcast. I know you guys are going to love it. Definitely get over, check that stuff out at Huntworth. And as always, thanks for listening. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. And, this is a fun one because this is the first Amish guy that we've had on. I mean, fresh off of Rumspringer, we got Bobby Kennedy. How you doing, Bobby?
Good. I'm doing good. It's sometimes pretty hard being Amish, but
What's with the mustache, man?
Yeah. Oh man, what's that song? The Amish song. It's the Gangsters
Amish
of
Paradise.
Yeah, Amish Paradise. Yeah, we should have had that playing in the background.
Yeah. So, we were up at TAC, and I've run into Bobby, I don't know, a dozen times at least over the past 2-3 years, and he was like, "Yeah, actually, I'm homeschooled," and I'm like, "Oh, you were Amish." It makes a ton of sense.
Up until sophomore year of high school, and then I went to public school, and then I didn't learn a thing after I got to public school.
Yeah. And did you fall right in with like the goth guys because of the eyeliner?
No,
like, dude, how do you do that?
I mean, that 2007 was like, so that's when I graduated. That was like, emo times, but I really listened to the music and that was about it,
Yeah. So if you don't know who we're talking to, like if you've ever seen the guy with the big giant eyes, giant eyelashes, and looks like he's got eyeliner on or like a filter every time you see him like in real life, like that's Bobby K.
Yeah, that's the main comment I get is this guy wearing eyeliner.
So growing up homeschooled, like what was your like hunting? I mean, I guess like in today's world, because I'm a lot older than you. So I graduated in 99.
Oh, you look really good.
Well, I try.
Well, I look really bad. One of the two.
So, but I think of it like kind of the way that people now homeschool. They're like, well, we're gonna, get these kids outdoors and we're gonna do all this stuff. Well, I mean, like when I was a kid, it was literally, all the memes about like drinking out of the hose and like going and doing all the bad things and just being home by dark.
Yeah.
I mean, we had 5 acres and a pond and the neighbors had cows and horses and we were just gone for the whole day. And so like now I think about like homeschool and people are like, we want our kids to be like little feral kids and go out and, learn stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So was like hunting part of your curriculum or like how did,
Mom followed pretty much like a state regulated curriculum. I'm not going to remember all this. It's a long time ago, but like you go through placement testing and all that stuff every year to make sure you're on track. But she did like doing a lot of field trips and a lot of the hands-on stuff. So like when we would study about like Native Americans and that culture and all that kind of stuff, like that's where probably I really started diving into the outside stuff when I was younger. So like say 10, 11. And from there, it just, I grew up in a hunting family on top of it too. So at least on my dad's side, everybody else on my mom's side never really did any of that type of stuff. But once I started finding like just the love of being outside, which like as a kid, you like being outside, but there's a switch probably around like that puberty age. It's like, I belong outside. And that's where I would spend the rest of my time. If I wasn't doing homeschool stuff and all that kind of jazz, I'd be outside making forts or learning how to make cordage or trying to nap my own broadheads or, but that was kind of, I guess homeschooling probably did take a little effect on my, perception of nature, I guess you could say. I mean, like we raised butterflies, stuff like that when I was going through homeschooling, and my mom did a good job. I'll give her a lot of credit. She did a good job. I hated it at the time, but now it's like she did a pretty good job.
And then what was the shock like going to, essentially getting dropped in high school?
Oh, well, so like I still knew everybody in the area because it was a small town. It was a
Amish community.
Yeah,
you still had church on Sunday.
Everybody knows everything.
Barn raisins and whatnot.
Yeah, and I played sports like through. I don't know how it worked, but I was able to play like school sports through middle school and all that kind of jazz. So once I got into school, it was no different. I knew everybody pretty much, or the majority of people, and the only thing was just like making sure. The homework is what sucked because I was used to being at home and I was done. And when I was done at home, I was done. But then you go to public school and you got all this homework and I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And I still kind of do. So it's like, that was my big adjustment.
And so you said your dad's family was like a big hunting family. Like, there's, I'm sure, as I mean, we run in all the same circles, but like, you always run into that guy. He says, "Yeah, I'm a big hunter," and you're like, "Oh yeah, Tell me about
that's
it."
Probably the best way, but they were big hunters.
Yeah.
Well, I know back in the day, Grandpa used to go up north somewhere. I don't know if it was like Grayling, something like that, maybe. and they used to do a camp every year for the opening day. And he would tell me those types of stories. And I think Dad went when he was younger, but that got logged off at some point, and then, you know, it was over with. But when I remember when I first started deer hunting with Dad around 10, like, you would be lucky to see maybe 5 deer in a day, which I know there's areas like that up north now, even like that's a good day. And then as time went on, you know, we've seen this population grow, and if you didn't see 30 deer in a day, you were having a bad day. And it's like, it's crazy how the mindset has changed from even my grandfather and my dad to me. Like, what is a good holding capacity, like, for the property? Like, what is a good herd dynamic? All that kind of stuff. And I mean, that's happened a lot in the last 20 years anyways, with QDMA and all that kind of jazz. But it was pretty fun. And I don't know how to tie it back to kind of what you're saying. My grandpa was a hunter, but like, the big thing for them actually was pheasant hunting. That was their big thing. But that kind of died off before I really got into it. So, and now it's making a comeback down here. Sort of.
Yeah. That was, you know, so for me, like, I think, like, one of the first hunts I ever went on, just because of when small game season was a pheasant hunt on the east side of the state. So we'd go over to the Thumb.
Oh yeah.
One of my dad's softball buddies married a girl from over there, or I guess they were both from over there. And they just moved back. And so, I mean, we'd drive around, jump out, you know, and, you know, you think about it in like today's terms of like all these farmers that know everybody and they can, you know, hunt here, shed hunt there, whatever. Like, that was exactly it. Like, we had permission on all of these places to just go walk their fields and, you know, shoot at whatever flushed. And that's how we spent a weekend or whatever. And we did that right up until, you know, kind of like sports got in the way. Like, you know, and that's what I think is wild too, is like when you're in some, I always, I guess I forget or like I always cite it as a reason, but I don't hear too many people that talk about like coming up through that era. Cause like you're when you were a kid, like when you were graduating high school and all that stuff, like you had the internet. Like that was the thing that I think that killed a lot of, you know, cause for us, we had a property up in the UP, still do. Mm-hmm. And we always went up there. And then my brother when they played sports, like, you know, fall sports, sometimes they just didn't get to go up there because of sports. And then you get the internet and then you get girls and all the things. And, you know,
I feel like girls really messed me up when I was in high school.
Well, I mean, what did you have? Like just a couple sisters or something at home and mom? And then it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you know. Prom dance was kind of stale.
Yeah. All the dances leading up to that were garbage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like for you, what I guess like then set the hook for you to kind of go down this road with the man over beast stuff and the filming and whatnot?
I don't know. I think that was really kind of a slow progression. Like Man Over Beast never really started as it was just supposed to be me. It was always supposed to be like a group of buddies, and there still is, like, filtering in and out buddies. And now it's turned into me and my cousins. And, but, you know, out of high school into college, I played a little college basketball, and like living away from home during that period and not being able to hunt when I wanted to was kind of really when I realized, like, I like hunting and fishing more than I like playing sports. And it doesn't hurt my body because I had some serious tendonitis problems. So like from there, you know, I think it was right around that time when I was in college when we started the Man Over Beast Facebook page, and we thought we were all going to be famous and it was going to be great and get these sponsorships and stuff. And it turned into like, let's just post pictures. You know, we just start posting pictures, and some guys just kind of fell off to the side, and I'm just like, screwed, I'm just going to keep posting. And then I started picking up the video camera stuff, and I enjoyed that. I liked the self-filming, and the self-filming really came from like the aspect of like, I wanted to show people that I don't shoot everything I see. At the time, it was like a selfish, like, display or self-righteous display. Like, hey neighbor, look, I passed this 4-point. You know what I mean? Like, at the young age. And I'm kind of glad, like, that's what spurred it on, because it brought me to where I am now. But I would not use that as fuel to start self-filming, because it's probably going to drive a wedge between you and your neighbor before anything else. But I kept at it, kept filming, started putting out YouTube videos, and kept working on editing. And I worked a full-time job for 13 years in the agronomy industry, farming industry. So I didn't really have much time to be hunting anyways. So I kind of just fell in love with, like, I romanticized hunting a lot, and I still do romanticize hunting a lot. And I think that's why I started to put into some of my videos. And I got one sponsorship a long time ago. Sorry, motorcycle going by. About 3 years ago, Trophy Line had interest in hiring me on as their full-time media producer. And I think I was just supposed to be editing shorts and reels at the time, but when I had that found freedom, then I really just kind of kept diving into it and having a lot of fun with it. And now here we are, a self-employed person, just still grinding away at it and still enjoying it, you know? So
when you say that you romanticize hunting, what does that mean to you?
To me, it's that's a really good question. I know that there is a broad spectrum of hunters across the entire U.S. and the world. And some are out there just specifically for meat. Some are out there specifically for what's on their head. But then there's, like, a lot that's in between, and they find this connection to just the wildlife itself, or being a part of it and realizing, you know, we are a vital piece to the ecosystem, and knowing that we have this responsibility that we carry with us every day. And it's not that we're perfect, but, like, having that connection with the game you're chasing, and always having that in and throughout the season and off season, like, it feels extremely important that we are hunters and that we respect the wildlife, and that what the wildlife can teach us at the same time. I think it's just a balance and love. And I like to use the hashtag of, like, we're the fulcrum, because you look at the history of humans, you could say, or even the short aspect of the U.S. and the implementation of conservation, how we can destroy something so quickly, and we still do daily. But then if we actually take the time to nurture things and respect things and realize we're just a part of the cycle, you know, things can flourish. So I think that's where I say I romanticize hunting, because even though I know that I'm taking a life, all of the other work that I do outside of that gives more back to the wildlife than what I'm taking from it, because I know that it's a circle of life, you know? So that's a long-winded explanation of what I think romanticizing it means.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you do a great job with your edits, your film, everything that you're doing with that. And I don't, you know, but one of the things, I mean, I've had a camera on my bow or with me at some point in the season for probably the last at least 10 years for sure, but I would say probably close to 15 years. And it was for me more of, like, you know, the amount of cool things that you see that you can tell somebody that you saw that, but you can't. And even on when you video something, it never looks as good. I mean, when you video something, it looks a lot better than
it still always looks better.
But it doesn't give the same perspective as you being there. And I think of things like seeing, like, bobcats, like, walk through the woods, like, yeah. They're always, like, stepping like they've got water on them, you know, like, you know, I had an owl, like, fly, like, almost directly into me and then flare, like, right at the last second, you know, And you can tell somebody that, but you can't, like, it's impossible. But even if you could show them like a little video to give them that much closer to that. And so that, you know, when you say like romanticize, that's what I think of. Is I think of like, you know, all the reasons that I like it, that I love hunting, that it like builds a fire inside of me, is for all of that stuff. Like in the kill, the hunt, you know, the hunt is the fun part. Like the kill is just like, now it's over. Like now the work begins. And especially if you're in a $1 state or something like that, like now it's really over. So, you know, that to me is like kind of the thing. And it's funny because I was thinking, like when I was trying to figure out, you know, things to talk to you about and like how I wanted this podcast to go, I was thinking about like that whole, I kind of want to get in your head about like the way that you put your films together, for one thing. And then the other side of it is like the difference between being a cameraman on a hunt and then doing the self-filming thing. Like, where's the line there? But I just want to say, like, one of the things I was thinking is like, I need to put like on my camera somewhere, or like on my pack. Like, so when I take it out the camera, like that, it just says like, tell a story. Cause that's like all you're really trying to do. Like you think about all this stuff, like if you don't have like a plan for like what you're doing, like you're going to get like two things. You're going to get you're going to get burned out right at the get go. And then you're going to have like a recovery and no shot, or you're going to have like, you know, you're going to have like two pieces and none of it's going to work together very well.
Yeah.
So
no, that's true. My cousin Michael just started filming last year with me, and the kid's a great hunter, but he's just learning the portion of running a camera and learning how to edit it. And so he shot a great buck in Indiana last year, and he's like, "Can I edit it?" And I'm like, "Go for it, dude. You know, I can fix it for you or whatever you want at the end." And he's like, he was talking to me last week. He said, I didn't really film that much outside of just shooting the deer. He's like, I didn't even get the recovery. I'm like, yeah, that's part of learning the way. Because I told him, I said, film way more than you think you will ever need, because you'll need it. I don't know, when I first started, it was, like I said, just more of just showing people deer. But then once I wanted to start showing the experience, or the how I view the hunt and all that kind of jazz, it was realizing, like, you know, not everybody, nobody's going to sit in the same tree you are at that exact same instant and see the exact same sunrise, because you're there. And the only way you're going to be able to share that with somebody is if you are filming it. And if you want to tell a story about it, it's like you have to get the sunset, or sunrise. But not only that, like, you've got to get the leaves. Maybe they're changing colors. Maybe you need to get the squirrel that's coming out, waking up in the morning. Or if you have to shoot some sort of product, you know, get some close up of that in the sunrise. And then that's how you're like trying to tell a story. Because when you're walking through the woods, any of us without a camera, typically we're not just staring at our feet walking around, we're taking in everything around us. Well, if you're just getting into filming and you want to tell a story, it's like you need to film everything around you. Close-ups, far away, medium shots, all put together. That's, if you want to go crazy with it, that's what you got to do. If you just want memories, then you don't need to worry about it. But it's been a learning curve, because I mean, I'm not a self-proclaimed professional. You guys think I am, or you at least put me on a podcast to make me feel good about myself. But I think in anything you do, you're always going to learn something every day when you're setting forth to take on that task. And I still feel like I'm way far behind so many other people, but I still enjoy it. And sometimes the story comes together really good and paints a really good picture, and I get to put a good message in it. And that's what I try to do with my stuff, at least.
So from you, like your perspective being, like I said, like the self-filming guy who does all the editing and all that stuff, to being like the field producer and the cameraman, and, you know, trying to see the hunt go down in your head like the way you want it, instead of having to carry the bow, do all the things, you know. What was that transition like from you going to film other people? Well, I'm not saying like good or bad. I'm just saying like perspective wise. Did you feel like you had a lot more freedom, or like?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, half the time I still was probably carrying a bow with me, even though I was filming somebody else, but they would tell me to bring a bow. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to turn that down. But really, at that point, when I would still focus on that person, and not necessarily that person, because it depends on the story you're trying to tell. If it's a camp hunt, like it's not just that person, it's everybody in the camp. So you're trying to tie a story back to everything. But really, I would just, I'd focus on the same things I would do if I was self-filming. But I would just have an extra subject, which whoever it is you're filming. So making sure you get some shots of them walking or setting up their space or being behind them, or instead of sitting right on their lap, you're sit 30 yards back so that you can get them silhouetted in with a whitetail or whatever they're chasing. So like the transition from self-filming to filming somebody else is you're still filming, and it's just your focus now is to make that story or to capture the story for somebody else to edit if you're not editing, but you're trying to capture their story. So it becomes almost like a highlight of that person, their struggles in the hunts or their highlights in the hunts. And then if it's a big culmination, then you're trying to get everything, the camp life, who else is struggling or who else is having success, trying to remember to have the camera close to you, because if somebody's telling a really funny story, you got to start rolling because you want to get it, it's capturing other people's memories for them or to share with other people. Is that pretty decent of an explanation? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the explanation is great, but I just mean like for you, like personally, I mean, that's like if you're kind of like telling people this is what you need to do.
Sure.
But
sure.
like for you, like personally, did you feel, I mean, I guess from my perspective, I'm not the big buck killer. I'm not the age class guy. I'm not any of those like stereotypes. I'm more of like the deer camp guy. Like I love the tracking. I love all that. So for me, it would be more like just to be able to video somebody else, just to be there, just to capture like, and I think that that's the hardest part, because like if you've ever been to, and I know you have, like one of those, like, I don't even want to call it like a once in a lifetime, because they're all like once in a lifetime. No deer camp is the same. There's always, that energy, like the electricity that's in there. And to try to capture that is like, I feel like a huge, at least for me, it would feel like a huge like task.
Yeah.
To try, like, again, just like that same thing, to try to make that sunset feel like if I filmed it and produced it and put it out there, and then if Heartland Bowhunter was in the same tree at the same time and we had the same equipment, like they would do a much better job of conveying like the energy or like the gravity of the situation.
Sure.
And so that's just for, and that's where I have like the hard time, because I love the camaraderie. I love that. And I don't like to be, because I feel like sometimes if you're doing that and then you're the guy with the camera and then you're like, don't just be natural, like be funny, ha ha, like in like now it changes everything, right?
Yeah.
So did you encounter any of that type of thing?
A little bit. I think from my experience, the biggest thing I kind of realized I needed to do, and it was easy, but just I was making sure that I was taking a back seat to any of the attention. So like if there was a great conversation going on, I just kept my mouth shut and I would run the camera. Or if like there was a deer coming and the person didn't see it, I would be tapping them on the shoulder or whatever. But I think that was probably, it wasn't hard, but that was probably the biggest shift, was like, I'm not telling the story. This is the story. I just need to capture it, keep my mouth shut, let things flow the way they're going to go. It's different. Like if I had to, I've never had like really had to deal with like sit down interview types. So getting the story after the hunt, like you see that a lot on just regular TV where guys are sitting in their office like we are right now and they're telling the story. Like, I don't think that would be too difficult to do just because you're asking them to tell it step by step. But the biggest thing was just like, take a step back and you're not going to be the center of attention, and which is fine, and run a camera. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe, but I had no problem doing it. And I think that people that want to be the center of attention or have their own show, that's where they would probably have a hard time doing it. I knew like I had a job, and that is my job. Like, it's to make other people's stories come to life. And so you have to make sure you're paying attention to not only what you're doing, but what they're doing. And you just shut up and do your job.
And so do you feel, I know I've heard you talk before and say that it's never like about the kill for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's about the experience and all that stuff. So like, do you get just as much out of it when someone else shoots something and you got to video it and share it?
Oh yeah. I mean, technically I've shot it with the camera, so it's like I did shoot it, so to speak, or living vicariously through their actions or whatever. But yeah, it's for somebody that really likes hunting, maybe that was difficult just because like if I didn't have the bow with me, again, you got to sacrifice for the work, you know. I would rather hunt than film for somebody else, but at the same time, I got to put food on the table, and you know, and I at least I like the camera aspect of it, and trying to get all of the stuff that happens around that pinnacle moment, because yeah, for me, and to tell a story, it's not just that shot. I mean, like, there's so much every single one of us go through every day that nobody sees. And that can make or break an entire story or a day. So, I mean, even a hunt, like somebody has a just crap day at work, and I might not be able to film the person having a crap day at work, but I might be able to portray that this person is going through some struggles and they were able to get out hunting and they relieved all stress. And they just so happen to shoot a really great buck or something. It's like that buck's going to mean more to that person than it was that some Joe Blow just, here I am, just sitting up against a tree. Maybe we'll shoot something. You know, I don't know. That's my perspective, I guess, at least on it. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. And I think that that's where it takes like a special kind of person to like key in on that, you know, instead of just being like, hey, I'm filming today, you're filming today. Like, what am I filming? Like, you know.
I think I would have a hard time filming somebody that I don't have at least, like if I was just cold called to go out and film somebody I've never met before, I think I would have a hard time telling whatever story it was that happened for that day, because I don't know that person. I like having that connection with people anyways, because I don't know, it's not like it's not like I need to be buddies, but being able to understand, one, the way somebody hunts, and then two, like what their perception is on that hunt or how they hunt or what's going on in the world or whatever. You can get a lot more emotion evoked from something when you understand like your what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. The person you're filming. There's a specific word I'm trying to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way about podcasting. I mean,
yeah.
Like when we first started, we'd just be like, oh, we're going to talk to this person. And like, maybe I knew a little bit about him. Maybe I didn't, like whatever. And then like, you realize very quickly that there's like this first date period.
Yeah.
And then if you're like, okay, we're only going to do an hour or whatever, like it gets about 45 minutes. And now we kind of are like riffing, like being able to play back and forth. And it's like, all right, well, you know, tell everybody. And so like, I've like definitely shied away from that. And it's much easier to be able to come on here and say like, we got Hezekiah Kennedy on here today.
Hezekiah. That's a good one.
and know that that's going to hit okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty easily unoffended, so I don't get too riled up about anything.
But yeah, so I mean, I can totally understand that, and I think that that's probably, when I mean, okay, so when you were starting out, and even when you were doing like your best stuff through Man Over Beast, like who inspired you? Like, what did you watch where you were like, oh, those guys have got it figured out?
Did I watch? I mean, I watched a lot of THP um, when I was at the old job because I mean, don't tell my boss, but I was the boss, so I just would kind of watch some YouTube here and there. Anyways, um, but I don't feel like their stuff was ever really cinematic. But I do think THP did a lot of good storytelling within it, and that they were like brutally honest about things that were happening during the hunt. And I think that would be an inspiration and a way to tell a story. But like, I'll admit, and people are gonna hate me for this, I don't think I've seen 2 episodes of Heartland Bowhunter. One show I can remember from YouTube that I liked early on, and it was because I do a lot of habitat projects, but I liked the way that they filmed their stuff, was The Management Advantage. And I don't know if that cinematic aspect to it, just like the colors and how they graded or just however it was, I don't know if that took a part of it, but I can remember that imagery probably out of everything that I've seen. Otherwise, it's pure luck, I guess. Whatever I feel like feels good, and I try to look at anything I'm editing to from the lens of either a 7-year-old with a short attention span or somebody that's just going to appreciate more than somebody talking. So like with the YouTube world, which probably a handful of people are familiar with, like retention rate's so important. And if you have bad audio, which podcast people would know, that's not good. So anyhow, yeah, I don't really know what fully inspired me, to be honest. My mom used to have a camera, and I hated it, and she'd always point it in my face and tell me to smile, and I wouldn't touch a camera for a long time. But when I came around to just wanting to evoke emotion, then I think that's all it is me just trying to figure out ways to evoke people's emotions and connect with them. I don't know. I'm not a perfect person, but I try to be a positive influence when I can.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't saying necessarily like, trying to like put you on the spot and say like,
No.
well, because I think you're right. Like, so I think THP does a great job of like that camaraderie, that positivity, saying like you can do it, and then going out there and showing. And then there is a huge faction of people that like that think, well, they're only shooting small bucks.
Right.
And so they completely discredit it, and they're missing the whole point of the whole thing. And then I've talked to, Caleb Copeland from Copeland Creative, and he films for a lot of the big shows, and, they do incredible stuff with $20,000 cameras and just amazing stuff. But they're like, I can't watch it because it isn't cinematic. It's not like done the way that they like to do stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of has their own like background and like what they like and stuff like that. So that's what I was just trying to say. Like where did you like draw from? And like, so for me, like I just like last year, and it's so funny that you were saying like about, filming more than you liked and medium wide, blah, 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 blah. Like last year for me with, same camera that I'm talking on right now, my iPhone and the Insta360, like you can tell a hell of a story with the Insta360. And as long as you can understand to be able to like take your close-up interviews and get some of your B-roll on the other stuff, like you can really fill in that story with a lot of cool stuff very easily, and it isn't cinematic. It's not, it's not going to win any awards, but it still
tells a good story.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a good start for me anyways. Like, it took my filming from like being so cumbersome, like, and like want to throw it away, to just being able to get something and then have so much more to be able to piece together. Like, so cool.
Yeah. No, it's a journey. That's one way to put it. I mean, if you stick with it, it just can take you down this massive rabbit hole. But I think overall, like for I don't know, like, as inspiration, it's just, if it's got to be THP probably, at least for the storytelling part. You know, I'm not overly cinematic with my stuff either, and I don't know. It is hard to try and answer that question, because I'll see stuff that I'm like, oh, that's really cool, but it has nothing to do with hunting. So I feel like inspiration comes from so many different avenues that I can't like say one specific thing. Because what's it, Amuletto or something like that on YouTube is like a whole bunch of short films by different directors and all that kind of stuff. And they always have like these different takes on how they will film something cinematically. But it's always a 7 to 10 minute story. And in that 7 to 10 minute story, you get wrapped in quick. And so I think maybe that's a good one for anybody that's looking for inspiration as far as like cinematography, or even just how to tell a short story, because they're all 8 to 15 minutes. And but it has nothing to do with hunting. Zero. Absolutely zero to do with hunting, but it's always good stories. And I think that's probably what I'm attracted to most, is not necessarily the coolest camera shot. Does the lighting look right? Is it golden hour? Is the contrast right? It's like the story. And that's what I always get inspired by, is the story. I think that's why, at least on the hunting aspect side, THP does a good job, because there's always a story. And it might be 3 or 4 days of a story packed into 15 minutes, but it's a good story, you know?
One thing I think that you do well, and I think that I admire more about a lot of people's stuff, is the using the music with the edits, and to like create, because I try to like look at stuff, even just like even TV, or like you're watching a show or like whatever. And like, if you take some of their like B-roll or transition going from this to this, and you mute it, like, it's very like, it's a completely different feel, you know, and that music is so important.
It's like the old sitcoms with the laugh tracks on them. When they strip them to the laugh tracks, you're like, this is really cringy.
Yeah. Well, I was going somewhere else, like where you see, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where Jason Segel's like putting in the funny music like over top of it, and like all that stuff. Like, but that's one thing that I think that, like, you know, THP doesn't really do. Like, they just tell the story. Like, it's just, this is what we're doing. This is what you get. Like, you know, very little voiceover, any of that stuff. But also you get like some intro music and some outro music. You don't get, you know, between the scenes and any of that stuff. And I'm not talking like cheapo entry level YouTube where it's a video and it's just the same little music over the bottom, you know, like behind it. And so I think that that's one thing that sets a lot of stuff apart and makes it more like, you know, quote unquote, like cinematic, to kind of meld the two together. So what are you looking forward to for this year? Like, what's the big stuff you got going on?
Well, I leave for North Dakota. What is today? It's Monday. I leave for North Dakota in 10 days, something like that. Either way, 9 days. So that one's a big one. That one's really fun. This will be the third year doing that one. First time I ever went was with Whitetail DNA, and then last year I went with them again, met them out there, and I really am very appreciative to Alex Comstock and that whole team for just like that was another camaraderie aspect when they brought us in, because it was a huge camp. So like making new friends and everything like that was awesome. But as far as Velvet Hunt goes, it's pretty exciting. That'll be a week long over Labor Day weekend. I wanted to say Memorial, but I got my months screwed up. That'll be a fun one. It's a velvet chase. I've got full-blown permission this time. I've knocked on doors before and did that like on the run while we were out there the last couple of years, but this year I sent letters out to a whole bunch of people, and I got a full-blown yes. And so I went out there in June, hung trail cameras, been getting a couple good ones. There's one that it might go upper 150s, but I have a really hard time telling the size of something, especially in velvet. I just know like that's the one I'm gonna shoot that one if he comes out, you know. But that'll be a fun one. I was gonna go to the East Coast. I don't for Sika deer. I don't know if I'm doing that now. That one's kind of up in the air with the change of EHD. I don't know if I'm going to go to Ohio either because I see Southern Ohio is getting hammered right now, which probably means Southern Indiana will be hammered. So I don't know if I'll do that one either. We'll see. It's really kind of all up in the air. The only one really set in stone is 10 days from now, and we'll be hunting in North Dakota. I would like to go out west, but I don't think anything is available at the moment to be purchased in tags. So really, it's a pretty mellow year, to be honest. Last year was running all over the place, and it may end up that way anyways, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So what is your like thoughts on out-of-state hunting versus like hunting here in Michigan, mentality, size of deer, age class, etc.?
Typically, the bucks on average are bigger, just because I think it's not just because, but I think one of the main factors, and people cite it all the time, is there are so many hunters in Michigan, and it's hard to get across that mindset of got to get your buck, which is fine if it makes you happy and you don't waste the meat. Cool. But in other states, there's just not as many hunters, and a lot of them just don't have that same type of culture and viewpoint of got to get your buck. Now, it's not to say that there's not those people in those states. There's just not as many hunters, so it kind of just evens itself out to the perception of anybody going outside of Michigan. It's always bigger bucks. And I've seen a lot of small ones out of state, so that's not true. But I think culturally, Michigan has been shifting the last few years, as far as I can tell. I mean, you're in one of the northern counties that's like APR zone, right? Or at least
we're just below that.
Yeah, so like, I mean, that was a whole implementation. Is it 2 decades ago now? 20 years ago? 15?
It's got to be close.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that. But I always am seeing on social media and everything else, which is don't get your information from social media, but like, everybody wants either an APR or a $1 rule, and there's studies out on everything, and it's like you can tell something's going to happen in the legal side of things probably within the next few years. You would, the perception is at least. But locally, like I've helped the buck pull around here, and I've seen just a drastic change in the mentality of hunters around here, where I don't think guys are shooting those spikes or 4 points or tiny 6 points. Not as many. And I think it's just, my cousin would refer to it as the natural progression of a hunter, which could be true, or just as the generation coming up behind me that does the same thing, and they want to shoot big bucks. And I don't know. That's kind of I'm with them, but I'm not with them at the same time, because I don't want to piss in somebody's Cheerios and say, don't shoot that spike, because if you get excited over it, you get excited over it. But I do want to shoot big bucks too. So if you don't want to shoot that spike, that's fine with me too.
So hot take, we're going to crucify you on this.
Okay.
Like, is it easier out of state?
Like to get a nice buck, or just hunting in general?
To get a nice buck.
I would say yes. And I just had this conversation today, and the only reason I'm going to say yes is because I feel like the guys in Michigan know how to kill stuff. Where in a lot of these other states, and I'm not saying all, I'm not generalizing these people in these other states, but with the numbers lower and the hunters lower, I don't think they have that pressure of knowing how to get away from people or find the hot sign or all this kind of stuff. Where we are here in the state of Michigan, typically we, at least the ones running on public land, know the gig and they can get after it and they know where to be and they know how to kill them. And so from that aspect, yeah. But if it was like somebody just start hunting tomorrow, I would say just stick around in Michigan because there's more deer in southern Michigan than a lot of the other states around you. So you might as well just get something under your belt first.
I like that answer. But my question is like, and I fall prey to this myself. So I'm poking my own bear, right?
Sure.
Is that I feel like I'm a lot freer when I go out of state. Like I don't have any stereotypes. So I have no problem walking away from something to find something
that's good.
That's right now. And then I think we, as guys in Michigan, we say, well, these deer in Michigan are pressured and you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do this. And we make excuses for ourselves.
We do.
And so then we say, well, I'm just going to go to Ohio because there's big bucks everywhere. And then I'm going to go to Kansas. I'm going to go to, and then we generally have more success.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's not I think you're right. I think, we've sharpened the hell out of our axes here in Michigan, but there's a lot of guys swinging in the woods. So we go where there's not as many lumberjacks, and I think that's probably what it is. And I think a lot of it is just our own like perception of saying like, well, we've already counted ourselves out. We believe the hype that everybody says, well, you can't kill a big buck in Michigan and blah, 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 blah. It's so hard, public land,
There's just not as many. That's all.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, you hang around just as many guys who are into hunting in Michigan as I do.
Mm-hmm. And
when you start seeing the trail cam pictures that these guys, I'm not getting them. I'm terrible with cameras and all this stuff. But, they're saying, hey, look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. It's like, geez,
Yeah.
And it's like somewhat inspiring, right?
Oh, yeah. I think there's still a pretty good percentage of like the old boys club that don't ever post anything on social media anyway. So if you were getting pictures of a big one and then it moved off from a summer pattern and it went over to the guy that's 65, 70 years old, you're never going to know if you shot it or not unless you're friendly with your neighbor, so that could be part of it.
So was that part of like your upbringing, like, or like when you started hunting, like you just see one in the back of the truck at the sport shop, or like the Polaroids up in the sport shop that were just on the thing and it said Jim 8 point, it didn't say 150. It didn't say 130. It said Jerry 11 point. And you're like, holy shit, 11 points. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, that's what we had going on around here. Neat little side note here, which is not really neat. My cousin yesterday and the day before just finished taking hunter safety with his nephew. And in this guide of teaching these kids hunting regulations, they said that you should cover your deer up or wrap them in a bag when transporting them so as not to offend anybody else. And when I saw that, he sent it to me in Snapchat. I'm like, that is crazy. Like, I mean, I do get it, understandably, but at the same time, like, that's what we grew up with, was like tailgates were down, deer were piled in, they were just moved all over the place, just like this right here. This was when I was 15, I think, right there. We drove all around town, neighbors showing everybody everything. It's like, let's have a great time. Everybody celebrates everything. Now you just got to hide it, apparently,
That's wild.
It really threw me off when he sent me that Snapchat.
Why do you think that is? Do you think, I mean, like obviously but do you think it's because Michigan is like a woke state, like where, so they had to put that in there? Because I would guarantee you that in Wyoming or Montana, Idaho, like absolutely, that's not in their regulation.
I don't know. You always, the term the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, I mean, it could be just enough people complaining about it. Or it could just be a PR thing. Who knows? I would love to say people are just more sensitive these days, but I think people are just more, not necessarily sensitive. I think more people today like to complain about trivial things than what people in the past used to, because now we don't have these hardships that people 50, 60, 100 years ago had. So now we just pick little fights with the most random cover your deer up, don't want to know where your meat comes from type kind of aspects. So
now if they could leave that in there and amend it just a hair, I'd be all for it.
How would they?
If they would say, cover your deer up because you don't want people to know where you got it.
Yeah.
You don't give away your hunting spots.
That'd be a good one. Yeah.
So I'd be like, well, yes.
Switch license plates. You come out of state. That's a good idea.
Yes. Yeah. So I'd be all right with that.
Yeah,
I'd be all right with that. So for you, and I think I heard you talking about this at TAC, and you were saying, okay, well, you did all this work for Trophy Line, and you kind of had to run Trophy Line gear. And so you were saying you were kind of excited, and like you were like everybody else when they're in Austin's booth, like he's got every stick, every platform, everything known to man. His poles are way crooked and look dangerous, but like I want to try this stick really bad. So like what going outside of like the Trophy Line stuff, like what have you been impressed with, and like what for you, what's the setup?
I mean, honestly, I've still got Trophy Line stuff. I just don't have anything else. And I'm selling a bunch of it. So if anybody's looking for some stuff, hit me up. But I kept some just because I do enjoy it. But the main reason why, and I think this is what I was saying at Tech, like I didn't try anybody else's stuff, was because I wanted to be an honest person. And if somebody asked me, are these sticks better than this stick, or is this platform better than this one, comparing to other companies, I could be like, I don't know. This is the best one I've used, and I can stay true to that because it's the best one I've used. Now it's like, yeah, I want to get my hands on everything and try everything, and just because. And I've got to make sure, no matter what, if I feel like and this might irk some people, but I feel like the influencer trend of telling everybody that this is the best one they use or whatever else is kind of run its course. And at this point, I think you should just, at least I'll be like, this is what I like about it. It might not be for you, but this is what I like about this piece. And it might not be the best one out there, but this is what I like. You don't have to oversell something to make it sellable, if that makes sense. You don't have to come out with a broadhead and say this is the best broadhead in the entire market to make it sellable. You don't have to come out with a stick or a pack or tree stand or whatever and say this is the best one. Just say why it's different and what's good about it, and you don't have to say what's bad about it, I guess, but you can.
So is there anything that you want to try out that you're like, I've been eyeballing that, and that's going to be one of my next I
don't know, all of them. Yeah, everything. I don't even know where to go with that, to be honest. Anything hunting related, I'd love to get my hands on. I would love to support local companies, like Latitude. I think Hunt Arsenal's out of Michigan. Like those guys, like I would try all that stuff. I would try the tree sticks. I would try Cruiser, whatever. It don't matter to me. I have a good time, and I don't know. Curiosity killed the cat too, I guess. So maybe I shouldn't try everything.
Well, and that, I feel like that's kind of like where because I used to, like when all the first saddles were coming out, like we were trying all of them and like, giving our opinions on them and whatever. And then we kind of landed with Latitude and sticking with those guys.
Yeah.
But like they keep coming out with more stuff, and there's new stuff every year, and it's like I've got my setup like pretty dialed.
Yeah.
And I just don't really care to try anything different. And I don't have.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Because like typically I've been using the same saddle for 3 years, other than like what I had to do for photo shoots or something, because my butt was molded to the one I like, you know. But there's still stuff that comes out. Even like Latitude just dropped that new pouch.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what that is. I'm like,
operator pouches.
Yeah, the operator pouch. That one looks pretty slick. I think I would like that one a lot. It reminds me of a bino harness on your hip.
Yeah, and that's kind of where they started with that. And I've got a couple. I just went and picked some up. And one of the things that I like about it that I didn't even know that they were doing, is that it's on like normal clips. So instead of having like the Molly deals in there, it's on regular clips that go into the Molly. And so they have, they're selling the clips actually separately. So you could put one of those on your pack. You could take it off and put it on your gear strap. Like you could move it around, which is pretty slick.
You know, like, I mean, I don't think we've reached the peak of any type of ingenuity or, you know, engineering as far as it goes for mobile hunting. So like, I know, like, yeah, new things come out every year, but it's also like things coming out today are definitely better than what they were 10 years ago. So like, but it's hard to see the change when, especially like for you and I who have been like in it for the last few years, where you see everything all the time and it's like, no, that's not that much different than what this was last year. But if you look back 5 years ago, well, that's a big jump. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm kind of set in what I'm using on gear to an extent, but at the same time, like, I know there's better stuff out there I haven't put my hands on yet because I've just tried to be a good boy.
So, for you, you know, going out of state, doing Western hunts, all this stuff, one of the things I had in my notes was like, what's your most underrated piece of gear? And then like overrated, too hyped.
Oh, you should have sent me these notes before now. So
no, that's why I do this.
Overrated and underrated. Anything scent control wise is overrated. That's my 2 cents on that. I try, maybe it's not the word scent control, scent mitigation. I don't know. Scent elimination. Anything scent elimination is overrated. With that, my caveat is that Ozonics lives in my truck or in a tub, because if you've been gone for a week with no shower, it starts to stink in the truck. So running the Ozonics in there kind of cleans it up. Otherwise, most underrated though, golly, you know, this one's going to be weird. Most underrated, in my opinion, is apparel piece, is fingerless merino gloves. I think so many people would be just so much happier with how their appendages feel if they just wore thin merino gloves, because that's all I wear 95% of the year, with maybe a hand muff later in the year, which that could also be underrated. But that's, man, do you want me to stick with that for my hunting thing?
I mean, it's up to you, but I feel like it's kind of like cliche. It kind of tracks with the eyeliner. So like,
yeah, that's my hobo gloves with my eyeliner. I can't think of anything like standoutish. I know there's like all those little nicky-knack things that come out here and there that show up in Dunhams or whatever, and you're like, somebody uses this, but somebody does. But no, I kind of just, underrated wise, I stick to basics. I think a bino harness could be considered underrated. I know a lot of people that don't run them, especially in like thick timber, because they're like, I don't need a bino. I can see everything 30, 40 yards away. But I like the aspect of having that, not just your binos on your chest, but having all the little pockets and the knickknacks and the rangefinder and everything's right contained. That would be an underrated piece that I've converted a few people on that. I don't know, overrated, any more overrated ones. There's so many overrated things, but it's usually just the knicky-knack things. So
Yeah, let me check my notes here. I think one thing that I always say, like the puffy, right?
yeah.
And then like I go back and forth on gators, like especially for like out of state, and like that's one thing where
That could be considered overrated, as you're saying?
underrated. No.
Underrated? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used them a little bit here at home. I did when I was Montana, Colorado. I did always have them on out there, especially in the mornings with like dewy legs. That was always really nice. But I never was in much of like a rattlesnake area or anything. It was more just it was nice having your pants tight around your ankles and not snagging on stuff or getting wet. That is a good
Laces, like your laces, not
keeping them all tight. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
yeah. I don't know. What about your what's your go-to camera setup?
So for the last 3-4 years, I've been running the Canon R5, just the first version. The thing has performed great for me. It's great for photos, great for video. That's basically why I went with it. I needed a dual system camera. I run the 24-107 lens on it 90% of the time during bow season. If I am filming somebody else, that's when I'll jump to a 70-200 where I can get up really nice and tight on the wildlife coming in or on the person or something like that, and then just some buttery bokeh. But that's really the main camera body. I do run an Insta360. I have the X4. If I could, I would probably get the X5. I used to run GoPro, but GoPro just always gave me fits. Either the battery would die super fast or it would freeze up on me. And then I just recently bought I thought I brought it out here, the Canon V1 PowerShot, which is basically a pocket camera, but it now records in log, which for people that don't know, like log is where it's like almost grayed out. It captures so much data and then you go in and color grade it back the way it should be or in the way you want to see it fit. And it has like a 48 megapixel photo sensor in it, but it only goes from 28 millimeter to 50 millimeter. But I have been using the crap out of that for the last 2 weeks. It is like a little workhorse, and I think that's going to come in really handy in the deer woods or anywhere, because if your main camera is strapped up, locked in, and you've got this other one, you can just grab and pick and do whatever you want to do with it. I think that's going to come in really nice. But yeah, that's my main setup.
Awesome. So for anybody who doesn't follow along, like for you with your YouTube and like everything you're doing now, like where can they check out any of that stuff out?
So Man Over Beast is pretty much everything as far as socials go. So YouTube's Man Over Beast, Instagram, Facebook. Then I have another Instagram account that's the Bobby K, which admittedly I don't post a lot on there. I need to more now, just as I want to use that one as my business. This is kind of the work I'm putting out. And then my website is capturedresolve.com, which has a little bit of a portfolio on there. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'm happy to see you diving in, full bore, self-employed.
We're going to ride the train. We're going to see where it takes me,
So, but yeah, I'm happy to see like what goes on, and I'm sure undoubtedly we'll cross paths here again shortly.
Yeah.
So,
might come up in your neck of the woods. You never know.
Please do. All right, man. Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Bow hunting all comes down to a moment. And in the moment, you want equipment on your bow that will get the job done. Trophy Ridge products are the tools bow hunters trust. React Technology sights, rests, stabilizers, and quivers to help a bow hunter be successful in the field. And those tools are from Trophy Ridge.
Hit the road for fun and heartwarming fishing adventures with the Real American Road Trip.
I just want to hook up one time. I just need to hook up one time.
Catch the Waypoint Original Series every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the Waypoint TV channel. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.
I did get a bite. I have gotten a bite. I did feel it.